Hi, this is Amy Pack at Homeschool in the Woods, and I want to share with you about teaching through your taste buds and incorporating food in your history studies. Now, everybody's had to eat since the beginning of time, so what better way to teach it than through biblical studies? Take a look at the Old Testament. Esau sold his birthright for a bowl of lentil soup to his brother Jacob. That was a huge deal at that time. Also, Jesus fed 5,000 through bread and fish. Can you imagine having a meal of that at dinner and then sharing about that story with your kids? The Seder plate that's used at Passover, all the components on that plate have specific meanings in Hebrew history, and they're still used today. In fact, we've done that ourselves at Easter time and done a Passover meal with the kids so that they can understand more about the culture. Now, there's been a lot of civilizations that have passed along since, in fact, some rubbed elbows during that biblical time, such as ancient Egypt, ancient Greece, ancient Rome, that was during the time of Jesus, Middle Ages, and even the Renaissance. Now you're getting up into a little bit more modern times, but they all often shared a love of food, but often the same kinds of foods, but things would change throughout time. And there's one common one that you'll find in almost every country, and that is a form of a meat pie. Now, my husband is from Argentina, and in South America, Central America, right up into Mexico, they have what's called an empanada, which is basically a form of a dough crust that's been stuffed with meat. And then other seasonings. In each culture, each country down there is kind of known for the types of herbs that they use or things that they stuff it with. This also goes back to the Middle Ages. You can look into the song about blackbirds baked in a pie, and they were very dramatic a lot with the type of foods that they prepared. They would create lifelike marzipan sculptures and really turned food into a major ordeal. Now, still, even so, when you go to England, they talk about their meat pasties a lot. And even back in Egypt, they had their own form of a meat pie. And I'm sure if you look over into Asia as well, there's pot stickers and spring rolls and all kinds of things that are a form of a dough stuffed with a meat. So there's different ways to really take it to eras in civilization, but we can also take it into cultures of countries. So what kind of Russian foods are there? If you're studying about China, different foods from there, studying about Africa. It's a great way to get a taste of each country that you're learning about by looking up information, whether you're looking at cookbooks that you find at the library or looking up online to find some foods that are known for that culture. Pare it down. Let's look at the United States. Each state has history of its own when it comes to different foods. Now, I'm from New York. We're known for our buffalo chicken wings, which a lot of Southerners, when I lived in Texas, would laugh at because they're like, chicken wings, that's the part of the chicken you throw away. But up here, it's very well known. There's also Chicago deep dish pizza. There's just, each state has foods of its own that they're known for. All right, how about native tribes? There's natives all over the U.S., and each one has a different way of cooking things, different herbs that they use from their areas. I know our kids, we studied the Iroquois, which were big in our area, and made maple sugar candy when we studied about that, because that always made it more fun. And my daughter definitely remembered that lesson. That was one of her favorite candies, actually, from then on. So you can also learn about eras that changed foods, such as World War I, a lot of wars, because there would be shortages on things. World War I introduced meatless Mondays. Even in World War II, there was a resurgence of that. There were also wheatless Wednesdays. There was a time, in fact, we have an article on our blog that talks about bean loaf that was used to offset meatloaf on Mondays. And people got really used to having that. They would also prepare victory gardens where the community would come together and plant foods and things like that so that they could share them during this time. Soldiers would use K rations, and you can look up, that's a very common time of canned meat, and that kind of kicked that off, actually, even back in the home states after the war. So it's good to learn about also foods that were affected by different eras and how that had to change at times. Now, you can also associate foods with people. If you go to Washington, D.C., you're going to find Senate bean soup is on the menu almost everywhere. Also, presidents that had their favorites. There's lists online of presidents' favorite foods. There's a book called George Washington's breakfast, where it talks about how he loves his hoe cake. And we'll be actually making that in a little bit, and with a surprise guest, by the way. There's Lincoln cake, and there's other people too, like when William Henry Harrison loved squirrel stew. Now, granted, that's not one that I'm planning on making anytime soon, but it's interesting to know about. Now, you can also incorporate food in other subjects. So, say for example, you're doing math. You can be learning about measuring and counting things while you're teaching your kids in the kitchen. You can also bring food into other areas of your math lessons for use as counters. You can use little crackers or pieces of cereal or raisins or M&Ms, things like that. You can tie food in with your literature. There's a book, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. And of course, like the one I mentioned before, George Washington's Breakfast. Different books that associate with food and with famous people. You can incorporate it with science. Now, we did a really fun experiment where we took a big M&M cookie and had the kids dissect it with like toothpicks and little toothbrushes, clean ones and stuff. And when they were done, they had to try to get the M&Ms out as clean as possible without scratching them. But they got to eat the whole thing when they were done. So it was a great archaeological project. Also, there's health, learning about balanced meals, how nutrition impacts your body, all these types of things. So incorporating food, like I said, is a great way to get the kids interested and involved. Now, most of our studies do contain recipes. We've got our time travelers, which are American history based, and we include recipes there where help if you've got a celebration at the end of your study. We really encourage that to kind of bring the unit study together with a bang at the end. Our project passports, we include what's called a dining out guide. Our project passports are geared towards a child traveling to an era in time, and they're going with their luggage, and they have an itinerary and a guidebook to go by. But including with that is, who doesn't want to dine out places when you go visit? So we've tried to find as authentic as possible. Now, there's going to be times when you've got meals that are made with unique ingredients of a time period that aren't even able to be found, or they're from another country and they're just really hard to get a hold of here. So we do try to upgrade the recipe to be something that you can pretty much find all your ingredients at the grocery store. But we've got appetizers, main dishes, side dishes, desserts, beverages, usually some type of a sweet thing in there as well. So all of them each contain that. Now, like I've said all along, your kids will remember these types of lessons. There's always more fun when you can get together as a family in the kitchen. And so for that, I would love to take you now to learn how to make hoe cake. Hi, I'm Amy Pack at Homeschool in the Woods, and today I am here with my oldest granddaughter.
Esther!
Yes, that's right. This is Jaren's oldest daughter, and we are going to be doing a historical food from the colonial period called hoe cake. Now, I know you're not studying colonial era right now, but what era are you studying?
I'm studying the New World Explorers.
Yes, that's right. I already knew that. She's using our New World Explorers, aren't you? Is it fun?
Yeah.
Are you having a good time with it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Good answer. Now, actually, do you know, though, that shortly after when the explorers came to America, they started inviting, settlers began coming later after that. And do you know what they called them? They're called colonists.
Oh.
Colonists, and that's what makes the colonial period, which I know you're not at yet. What grade are you in right now?
Second grade.
Second grade. Did you just start it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're in October now, so pretty new. And how old are you?
7.
Ah, very cool. Very cool. Well, all right. Well, good. Well, so we're going to be talking about this next period, and I'll tell you, there's a lot of foods in New World Explorers. There's some fun ones too, but in the colonial era, there's a lot of them. So, and this happened to be a cake that was well loved by George Washington. There's a book called George Washington's Breakfast, where he eats hoe cakes, and talks about that too. But in the meantime, there's different kinds of hoe cakes, and the ones he liked, I think, are more cornmeal based. This one is a sweet one, where we're going to be using brown sugar and ginger and cinnamon, nice fall, yummy spices. Something you would probably want to use maple syrup on. Now, you know a lot about maple syrup, don't you?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because we make maple syrup.
Do ya? What season?
Fall, spring.
In the spring? Yeah. And you guys tap your maple trees in your yard?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I know that because a lot of us don't do sugar really in our family. And your family does a lot with maple sugar and honey most of the time, right? So very cool. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get started. First thing I want to do is turn on the oven to 400. Get that warming up. Okay, so I'm going to have you measure 2 cups of flour into this bowl. Can you do that for me? Thanks. Yep, nice and full, nice and full. Get it right in there, way in there. Yep. Baking is kind of a little more precise than regular cooking. That's perfect. And a second one. Good job. Good job. That's good. All right, we're going to set this aside, although we do need the flour again in a little while. So I'm going to put this over here. All right. Now to that, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Can you throw that in there? Okay. 3 tablespoons of brown sugar. And, okay, here we have a teaspoon of ginger and a ½ teaspoon of cinnamon, which I love cinnamon.
Me too.
You like cinnamon? Yeah, what does your mom make with cinnamon all the time that we absolutely love?
Cinnamon rolls.
I know. And she makes them very special for me because, again, she found a way to do it without sugar. And they're still yummy. All right, so...
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to add also a ½ teaspoon of salt and a ½ teaspoon of baking soda. So you want to throw that in there. Yep. What? It's okay. Oh, you're just going to wipe that off and throw it in, right? That's okay. All right, you want to mix this around a little bit?
Yeah.
And get it well incorporated. That just means mixed up so it's all kind of even. All right. Looking good, looking good. So.
Brown sugar's always kind of...
I know, brown sugar, it does. It gets lumpy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's good. All right, well, the other thing that we're going to add in, and I'm going to have you start using this one. This is called a pastry cutter. And what this does is you're going to be using it for the butter because we have to put in ½ cup of butter when it's cold. And we want to break it into it. It's going to be almost like little crumbs when it's like pea-sized. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to go in and break up this butter. You seeing me here? See what I'm doing? All right, and we're going to be, it's going to kind of get stuck. That's okay. Just keep working at it and keep working at breaking it up while I get the rest of this put together, okay? All right. So now in a separate bowl, you're going to want to put an egg yolk, but you're going to want to hang on to your egg white. And a ½ cup of milk. And a ½ cup of molasses. Now I like to use blackstrap molasses. I think it's got a few better healthy properties to it. But it's nice and sticky. So, and then we're also going to mix this until it's well incorporated. So where'd that whisk go? Here we go. How's that going? It's a little tough, isn't it? Let me grab a spoon here. Come here. Take some of that off of there.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's try having at it again. Keep going. There we go. All right, while you're doing that, I'm going to mix this together. You know what else helps sometimes? If you get right in there with your hands. So why don't we try that? Roll up your sleeves. Push them up.
Hard to do.
Is it kind of hard to do that?
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah. Okay, and then get past the elbow. All right, that's good enough. All right, so now we're going to just get right in there and mush this flour with the butter. Can you help me with that?
Yeah.
You're all right. That's fine. It's not going to be for long. We just want to get it to pea size. So we'll be back in just a few minutes once we got the flour ready. Okay, so we are done when we've got it nice and crumbly and kind of like pea size for the most part. And so what we're going to do is we're going to add in some of this molasses mixture until this gets wet. So I think what I'm going to use is the whisk. Well, no, I'm going to use a spoon. Okay, so let's start by stirring this in. So, because we're basically making a dough, and it's going to create a round loaf of bread that we're then going to cut into wedges. Now, let me stop there for a minute and see where we're at. Looks like it's moist. Okay, let's see if you can see how it's coming here. But molasses is one of those things that's so sticky that once it gets around into everything, it sticks. So I'm wondering if we got enough in here now. We're gonna end up actually turning this out onto a floured surface.
It smells good.
Doesn't it smell good? It smells sweet.
Yeah.
What do you think? Yum.
Tastes good.
Yum. All right, so we're gonna put out this towel, or like a pastry cloth, and put a little bit of flour on here. And there's the flour, right? Just enough to kind of cover it. Can you rub that around on there?
Yeah.
Nice and even. Great. All right, now I'm going to actually start by just forming this into a ball in here, see if I got enough moisture in here, because you just want it, like I said, just want it moist, but you want it to pick up all the dry flour. And it feels like we got enough. So this is what I had left in the bowl, and it's definitely feeling like it's coming together now. I think I've got enough in here. All right, so then I'm going to need you to help me form it into a ball, okay?
Mhm.
All right. So, all right, here we go. Let's pop this on here. Can you kind of pat it like you're making a snowman? I'll get the rest of this out.
This?
Yep, nice and round. Mix that into there. Okay, that's right. Good, yes.
This looks like a giant coconut thing.
It looks like a giant coconut. It does, it's the right color, isn't it? Okay.
It also looks like it had coconut in it.
No coconut in this.
Yeah.
Although I bet you could use coconut milk if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Or maybe even, I don't know about coconut flour though. It's the only thing. It's one of those things where flours can act very different. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to cut it into 12 wedges. So, would you like to do the honors? I'll tell you how to cut it.
Okay.
All right, you're going to cut it straight across. Right across there.
Mhm.
And across the middle. There you go.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, I know my hands are wet. Good.
The knife's in it.
And then you're going to go across this way. Right down the middle. You got to go down the middle. Here we go. Let me do this one for you. Look, I know I'm on a weird angle. Maybe we'll just turn it. Can you go across the middle there? Actually, 12 wedges. You know what? Let me give you, hang on.
The knife's really
Math.
slippery.
I forgot about this part. We're talking history, not math. So, okay, so we're going to go across. You know what? Let me do the last ones because it's like, well, you see what I'm doing here, right?
Right.
I'm cutting it twice through here. Can you do that on these two? So you're going to go this way across and then this way across.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And you know what? If they're not exactly perfect, whoop, right in there. And then I've got one last one. Can you split that one down the middle? Does that help? Okay. And this one over here. Perfect. All right. We've got them cut. We got our 12 wedges. So now what we're going to do is we're going to spray a baking sheet. In this case, I like to use a stone just because I think it adds, it really is nice at creating kind of a crisp crust on things and an even bake. But you can use a regular baking sheet. You may want to use parchment even on there. Okay, can you help me put the wedges on now?
Yeah.
Let me get this out of the way.
1, 2, 3.
Good. Yep.
4. See, this one's sticking. 5.
That's okay. That's okay. I don't know what this one went to. We'll stick it on the smallest one. Obviously, these don't have to be perfect. They're just going to taste good. 10. How'd we end up with 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, you know what? I snuck one on there when you weren't looking. That's probably why. All right, so we got our wedges on the plate. And now what we're going to do is we're going to whip up some of the egg whites. Just because we're going to give it a quick wash. And I'm going to give these a wash, and I want you to sprinkle a little bit of sugar on them when I'm done, okay? Just reach right in here, but let me get this on here first. Okay. So, do you think this might be a recipe you want to take home and show Mom?
Yeah.
Yeah? It smells good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially we've got Thanksgiving coming up. That was kind of a time when there was colonial baking going on because they were settlers, one of the first settlers. So I could see this as a nice dessert during Thanksgiving or even a breakfast for it. So. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and put this in the oven, and I'll be back with you in just a few. So, how many minutes? Okay, so here we are. We took them out. They baked for about 12 to 15 minutes. You want them to be firm enough, so that they're not. We press on them and they sink. You want it to kind of bounce back a little bit because it is almost like a little bit of a gingerbready kind of thing. So, you want to try some?
Yes, please.
Okay, all right. So, now what I'm going to suggest is that we put a little bit of butter on them. That's one of the suggestions that they have on how to make this. All right. You ready to give it a try?
Yeah.
Here's your piece. Okay. That's warm. That's good, isn't it?
Yeah. Tastes almost like a pancake.
It does. Like a gingerbread pancake, though.
Yeah.
It's got like the texture of almost like a brownie in a way, too. Doesn't it taste? I mean, but not chocolatey, like a gingerbread brownie. Almost. It's really good. What do you think?
Yeah.
Do you like it? Would you like to have it again?
Yeah.
Want to take some home?
Yes.
Okay. Sounds good. So, main reason that we wanted to show you this, too, is that it's really important to incorporate your kids with learning by cooking and by doing things in the kitchen together. You can double dip your lessons that way too. You can be learning about the history behind foods. You can be teaching them how to measure and how to do all the cooking stuff you normally would do, like how to mix things properly. And obviously we were working at how to get 12 pieces out of that cake, right?
Right?
Right. So, but most of all, it just gets them in with you and really making memories and stuff and really taking what they learned through historical foods home with them. They're going to remember. So, do you remember who it was that ate hoe cakes? What president? Do you remember his name?
President George Washington.
You got it. That's right. And you just really, we talked about him today because you're getting ready to learn about him later, but not yet. So, so good. Well, I'm so glad you could join me, Esther. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
All right, we're going to come back again sometime soon and do some more of this with me?
Yep.
All right. So thanks so much for joining me. Remember to like and subscribe. There's probably going to be a link right below here that's going to take you to one of our blog articles on historical foods. And I believe there's one on Lincoln cake there too, so we're going to probably put this recipe in with that. So please check it out and be sure to be teaching your kids history hands-on. Take care now. Bye-bye.